Oh, my friends, this is Rick, and welcome to your seat at the table. We got little Missy sitting over here in the box, and I'm just trying to wake up and get my shit together here in the morning. Excuse my morning French, because you know what? Sometimes the morning French is what you got to work with. Let's get that up here, right? We got a little funky hairdo going on here. This is a Wednesday, the 15th of November, I do believe. So we are looking at a kind of a rare day for me. Couple last few videos you may have heard me crying about my clutch in my truck, or the gear in my truck is going bad, so they were supposed to fix it. So I told my boss this back in the early summer, that there was a problem with fourth gear. It kept popping out, and then about he said he would, then he said he would get on it, and he forgot to do it. And then about 6 weeks ago, third gear stopped engaging. And fourth gear just comes, you have to hold fourth gear in place. So that sounds like, well, it shouldn't be an issue, but you try holding back that stick beside you while you're trying to steer through an intersection. Or let it steer the other way through an intersection. So sometimes you got to let go of that, you have to let go of that stick. And as soon as you let go of that stick, it jumps out of gear, which is and it's not completely out of gear, it's just disengaged, which means any vibration against that gear causes it to, or that gear shift causes those gears to grind, which just expedites the problem. So they ordered a transmission, which is like three weeks ago. Finally they got around to ordering the damn transmission. We're talking about $9,000. This thing's going to cost my boss about $9,000, and I feel horrible about it because I'm the operator. I drive the damn truck, so that's in part my problem. And so the upside downside kind of crap to this is this old truck had a transmission go out while I was driving it too. And of course he thought I burned it up. And I looked at this newer truck we got, and it's grossly underpowered for what it can carry. It's rated for 33,000 pounds. And we carry 38 every day on it on a regular basis. So trying to go up hills, sometimes you get a really steep hill. I try to avoid these streets at all possible when I got a load on the truck, where you got a hill and you got a light, because you get halfway up the hill or most of the way up the hill, and then you have to stop at the light. And trying to get back up that hill with a manual with a load on it causes problems. And then the truck, we know for a fact it's got another issue, because the DOT says it doesn't distribute its weight properly. So it's a single axle rear end. It needs to be a tandem axle. It needs to have tag wheels, if nothing else. That's those secondary sets of smaller wheels that can raise up and down. You see them on dump trucks all the time. We need something like that, because we're not distributing the 38,000 pounds the truck can carry properly. So it's mostly resting on the ass end, which is why I believe we had to replace the suspension back in the spring, because it cracked. Over time it wore out faster. And then I checked with International. International says that the average clutch in a manual commercial truck is only good for 150 to 200,000 miles. At that point, it's going to start having issues. My truck has over 300,000 miles on it, and we do not know if this is the original drivetrain or something after that. If it's the original, it is long past its expiration date, not to mention the issues with a truck being overweight, overloaded on a regular basis. And there's not much I can do about that. The whole point of having a 2,500 gallon tank on the truck is to move 2,500 gallons per trip. And if you've been around, if you've seen some of my really older videos, because yeah, I'll be honest, we're going on 7 years on this channel, and I gripe about my job on a regular damn basis. The same job I've worked at since I started this damn channel. So anyway, the truck went in the shop yesterday. They finally got a hold of us. My boss, they kept giving us a runaround. They had the part, but they had to get us in queue. And some mechanic places, some diesel truck places, have priority. So if they have a fleet contract, for example, that fleet contract means that the fleet trucks for whatever company that they've got that contract with take precedence over everything else when it comes to us. So that makes we get bumped back. We're just a punky little independent. And fortunately, they've done business with my boss off and on for years. Unfortunately, they've done business with my boss off and on over the years. So Kurt, the guy that's the head guy there, I don't know if he's the owner or what, but he's the one that runs the show, and he knows my boss pretty well, and he knows the bullshit. But he also knows that we're a tiny company, and this truck, if it's not running, we don't get paid. You know, I mean, we need it to work. So I basically hit 29 hours yesterday. I literally hammered myself Monday and Tuesday to get as much done as I could while the truck was available. Unfortunately, I have jobs I'm supposed to do on a weekly and bi-weekly basis, but I can't go to those later this week because they say the truck should be done Friday night or Saturday morning. Murphy's Law tells me it'll probably be Monday or Tuesday of next week, if not later. And all it takes is, well, for starters, it's supposed to go faster because they bought a pre-rebuilt transmission. So they got to take the old one out, which probably takes a good chunk of a day. And then, because you figure the day's an 8-hour shift for this fellow that's working on it. And likelihood they're not going to let another mechanic there's one guy, one job kind of scenario. And so once they get the transmission out, they're going to take the flywheel and turn it. Not sure how that's supposed to work. I'm not sure my boss got that in his head right, because most flywheels these days have some synthetic materials on it as well as metal, and they don't necessarily turn well anymore. And traditionally, from what little, and I'll grant you, I'm not a mechanic in any form. I did go to school to be a mechanic back in '85, but I hated every second of it. Never went anywhere with it. Anyway, so the point is, in this case, is my truck's down, probably at least for the rest of this week for sure. And I couldn't go do busy work. And I thought, well, I've already hit 30 hours or damn close. And so tomorrow, later this afternoon, after everybody's left, I'll go up and rake leaves and burn some more leaves because the boss's wife doesn't like them. And that's something that's every fall. I won't touch the damn things at my own house, or hardly ever. I get the ones away from the doors, but other than that, the rest of them can wait till spring and I'll mow them over. The ones at the shop, everybody's trees across the street blows into the yard. And so, I mean, yesterday, for example, early in the morning while I was waiting for the truck to warm up, I took the leaf blower out and blew a bunch of leaves part way down the parking lot, and then I drove to Mason City, which is a 2.5-hour drive to service a customer, and then drove the fuck back. So I left around 8 o'clock in the morning to drive up to Mason City. That's in northern Iowa, not quite to the Minnesota border. I went up to service this hotel, and then drove back and went and emptied the truck. By the time I got back to the shop, it was going on 3 o'clock. So I went ahead and dropped the truck off of Quality. Early that morning, I had the our office manager pick me up at Quality, so I dropped my van off there so I could just drop the truck off. And then I went back to the shop, and I went to go, and all these leaves I had blown were still out in the middle of the driveway, and yet up by the building there was huge piles of new fresh leaves that had just blown in from somewhere. And my boss was there, and he kind of laughed about it. He said, "I seen you did it earlier." And I said, "Come back," and everything was filled up again. And I said, "Yeah, and it ain't from the shop's trees. The shop's only got like 4 trees, and they're off onto the side. So no, this is from the feller across the street and all his crap." And so later this afternoon, after our decay leaves, I'll go up there and when I got back last night, I raked a bunch more and blew a bunch more up, so I got a big pile up there. I'm going to go burn that. It was too windy yesterday. I wasn't comfortable with it. So I'll go burn that and then probably rake another pile of leaves up, because I'm sure that there's more that's blown in overnight. The wind slowed down such that it is. So the wife's going to run an errand this morning with a neighbor lady, which leaves me the house to myself. And so I figure, why not do some videos? Meanwhile, if they did get my truck fixed Friday night, Saturday morning, well, then I'm going to go out and work. So I'm likely to work this weekend, in part because I need to make up for I got jobs that are not going anywhere. So it's not from an hours perspective. Between this afternoon and tomorrow, I can easily get 10 hours in. I have office. I got to go in and invoice all the jobs I did Monday and Tuesday, and then look at the schedule for next week and try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. And it's going to be a short week because it's a holiday. Thanksgiving being on a Thursday. As a rule, I take Friday off. Black Friday's off. I feel sorry for people that have to work it. And when I was younger, I had to work plenty of these holidays. I spent many years, like a lot of you do, working these things, especially when you're younger. It's just the way that the system is set up. It's just the way it goes. So when I don't have to, I choose not to. And so I just figured I work hard. And I don't ever get a vacation. And so when holidays come along, I like to take a little advantage of it. And sometimes that can cause some stress and some financial hardships by doing it. But sometimes you just need to take a break. So my plans is to have a 4-day weekend on this coming weekend. And I wasn't planning on was having this extended, I don't know what you want to call it. It's just like people will go and they'll say, hey, you could sit there and go and you can go and do this, or you can go and do that to kind of, if I leave it up to my boss and them, they'll find weird ass little things to do, to get me some hours, and I appreciate what they're doing, but I don't know. So anyway, it's just, you can't enjoy any of it. I mean, I know theoretically this truck won't be anywhere drivable before Friday for sure. I mean, they got to take it out, transmission out. They got to do whatever it is they got to do. We got a little sun coming in there in that window, and then we got then they got to put the new transmission in and hook everything up and make sure it's running, providing that the flywheel doesn't need to be replaced altogether. And like I said earlier, I was going to finish earlier saying is that traditionally, from best I understand, if you replace your transmission today, they just replace the flywheel and the clutch. If you've got a clutch that goes out, you replace the flywheel because it took the clutch with it. And I don't know that these ass clowns bothered to order a new clutch plate either. And if they didn't, that would be a moronic move. You do not go through the great expense and effort of pulling the transmission out and not replace that clutch plate. That's just foolish. That's just foolish and stupid. And they better do it, because if they don't, then this is crap my boss will get wound up about, and so would I, because that's a lot of money, and you don't want to have to be tearing this damn thing down again to replace a clutch plate that they didn't do. The thing is that this is what I told my boss a year ago. I said the plate it's wearing out. So the transmission wasn't the problem, that the clutch plate wears down. And what happens is it doesn't engage as smoothly as it should. And this causes slippage. So you can have trouble getting it to engage without the thing popping on you. And anytime it does that, you're potentially damaging gears. And there's lots of tiny little and mid-sized gears inside of an average manual transmission. So there's a lot of shit that can go south, and their precision's very precise. So you don't want any kind of debris or anything getting in there. So once the metal starts chipping off, it's just expediting more problems. And so you want that all to be addressed when you do have to address it, because ideally we're never going to replace this transmission again. The odds will be that my boss will die and the company will be shut down, or he's going to sell the business. They keep talking about that every year, but they're not financially in a good spot, so I don't see it happening. Anyway, I mean, that makes me kind of screwed up. I got a day, I could go up and do office work today, but I thought, geez, the wife's going to be out of the house for most of the morning, and might as well just, do this shit now and then get some videos. I try to have some extra videos in my, on the laptop to be published, put out on YouTube on a regular basis. So when I have these unexpected short weekends where I didn't have a chance to get anything done, I have some extra, I've got something to fill in. Unfortunately, that filler goes pretty fast. I mean, you'd figure I average three to four videos a week. And I tried to do that, and for a number of reasons. One, I enjoy doing this. This is what allows me to connect with our hobby. I mean, I do, and it lets me have conversations with my peers who don't think I'm crazy. I mean, a lot of people, you're a gamer. You know that sometimes you can't have these conversations with other normal people because they don't understand it or they don't see the passion. But they have no less passion for their own interests and their own hobbies. That's where I butt heads occasionally with some people because, you know, I mean, you see, somebody's got hobbies. This is none of this is my crap. The only thing in this room is my crap is this little corner in this table. And even then, I'm wedged in with a bunch of her stuff here and a bunch of her stuff over on this side. I mean, so, right? Anyway, that's not what you're here for. You're here for something else. But you know what? I think this video's ran on a little longer than I planned on it. So we're going to pop off and restart a video for the product. Because what we're looking at is Mezabizabazavuzaran. For the love of Pete, I can never, ever pronounce the damn word. The famed city of the drow, revealed at last. This is for Forgotten Realms. And Drizzt Do'Urden's homeland, if you have any clue who Drizzt Do'Urden is. If you don't, I really, really recommend reading the novels that character's in, because they're outstanding. And they really, really went a long way to giving a major boost to Dungeons and Dragons during those decades, because it was huge. When this was not TSR, it was whoever the hell it was before Wizards took them. I don't think it was TSR, it was somebody else. Anyway, let's get on with the next thing, right?